it occurred to me that I've recorded several videos in the Primal Self series, but I've never recorded one actually saying, like, what is the Primal Self? So for anyone who is not familiar with what it is, or if you're curious how I'm going to describe it, here you go. Like, this is my take on the Primal Self. So the Primal Self is a result of the deepest, darkest, most ancient primal trauma that we have experienced. So as an avatar, that means, like, from, the first embodiment on planet Earth. If you're not an avatar and you're an original inhabitant that lives, has only ever known the Earth, then it's likely you've also experienced some kind of primal trauma in reaction to some pretty harsh conditions, let's try war, abuse, sexual abuse, all of that. I don't think there's anyone who hasn't been through anything like that at some point in their lives. But I'm not going to come from that angle because it's not familiar for me. Like, for me, it's about, from the avatar perspective. So an avatar comes from another planet, descends to Earth with the desire to help raise consciousness here, to help people find a way out of suffering. And we come here, we're just like, yeah, let's do it, I want to help people. And fallen beings find us, and they basically just subject us to the most horrific traumas. For me, it was, I've been into the past life regression and looked into this with Mother Mary. And so for me, that trauma was, I was a child, maybe about 10 or 11 years old, maybe a little bit younger. I'm not 100% sure of the age, but I was not too young, not too old. And both my mother and I were targeted because my mother was an avatar and held by a group of, they called themselves priests, but this is like ancient, this is like millions of years ago. Like an order of beings. They were all men, and they basically subjected us to torture, trauma, just unbelievable stuff. And I watched it. I was watching as my mother was being put through all of her trauma. Like, it was, I had to watch her being humiliated, tortured, raped, everything until she died. And it was very distressing for a little child. And then I know I was raised by this order. They put me through a lot of psychological programming, and just being a child, I just had to do what I could to survive and everything, and to go along with it. So that's sort of like, it could be anything. It could be any horrendous thing. But you know what? It happened a long, long time ago for you and for me. It's done, what happened in the past. But the thing is, we have this program running in us, which is the very first thing we decide when this trauma happens, and we decide something that's going to help us survive the rest of our sojourn on Earth, so that we don't feel that sort of shock again, because it was a dreadful, horrendous, horrific shock what that experience was. But life goes on, and you just gradually, like now, I know that sort of experience wouldn't happen again, but I know the way I deal with it would be very vastly different, because I'm in a much higher level of consciousness. And also, I'm no longer shocked by much that happens on the earth. Anything can happen here. It's just the way it is. But what happens is there is a loop running, which is to help us survive. So my loop that was running was like, I can't trust anyone on planet Earth. And I kept that psychological loop running because it was just a way to make sense of the planet. It helped me so that, like, I could kind of beat the problem before it happened to me. So, the next trauma that came along, it was like, there you go, see, that can't be trusted. It just was just a much easier, it seemed like it was an easier way to function. And then, from that, I created a whole bunch of other crazy trauma cells. And, it's a big job pulling them all away, and you can only do it all one at a time. And so when it comes to the primal self, you have to have done a lot of work resolving a lot of other psychology first, because you won't get to it until you're ready, until you've cleared away, this one, that one, just many, many different layers of psychology. So it comes later in the journey. For Jesus, it came when he was on the cross, as he was on the cross there, and he was expecting angels, God to send angels to come and save him, so that he could continue his mission. And he realized this body's going to die, and he realized the mindset he was holding, and he let it go, and that was his primal self. So, it was the final self he let go of, but we can let go of it sooner because we have some amazing teachings from the masters, Jesus being one of them, which give us so much information into it. So if anyone who happens to come across this video wonders what these books are, like, there's a series of books which I can highly recommend, just leave a message and I'll let you know, okay? Or you can email me. I think my email should be available. So yes, so the primal self is like this rudimentary way of coping and dealing with our life on the planet. And while it's functioning, it is hijacking our psychology, it's hijacking the way we approach, the way we respond to life, the way we react to people. It influences everything. So once we can shift that primal self, that core psychological mechanism, then we are freed up, we are liberated to be truly, much more, discover more of who we really are and express higher truths through ourselves. It's only ever going to block your expression in this world. Okay, I think that is enough detail. That's what the primal self is. I hope this video gives you enough information. If I think of anything more, I shall record. And if you have a question, go for it. I'll see what comes. But that's it.